We just got back from our first surf lesson, and I gotta say, you passed the butt test.
Oh,
Do you know what the butt test is?
I don't know what the butt test is.
This may just be my test. I don't know
I mean, I could
if
guess.
guess what the butt test is. There's a butt test in fitness where you take a barbell and you put the plates on, and if you roll it, you lay down, and if the barbell doesn't roll over your butt, you have a nice butt. Do you know this test?
No, but I like this test.
Yeah. So you put some plates on,
Yeah.
like 45-pound plates. You lay down flat,
Yeah.
and then if the barbell rolls right over your butt, that means you don't have a butt.
Do we do this with men too?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. But the surf butt test, what do you think that is?
It's probably similar to a yoga butt test.
What's a yoga butt test? There's a
I'm
yoga butt test?
No, there's not. I'm just making that up. But
Okay.
what is the surf butt test?
What your butt looks on a surfboard. What your butt looks like on a surfboard, because when you're flat,
Did you just make this test
yeah,
up?
I just made it up. But it's something I've always noticed. But I'm announcing it's officially the surf butt test. When you're lying on a surfboard, goes for men too. Because you're lying flat, if your butt looks good while you're lying on a surfboard and the gravity's pushing you down, it's a great measure of a nice butt. And so when we were surfing, or not technically surfing, we're out there paddling. I got to see your butt. If this was a first date, which by the way is a great idea for a first date, to do a surf lesson because it's fun. You're active, and also in your bathing suit. And I would have said, "Oh, she passes the butt test," which is actually ironic because on our first date,
I was going to say, you knew I passed the butt test.
no, on our first date, you wore
a long sweater.
Why did you do that? You wore a sweater around your butt, and to me, I always thought if someone covers their butt, they don't think they have a nice butt. They're insecure. They're trying to hide it. And so I remember on our first date, you walked in and trying to be a gentleman, I let you walk first toward the table, and I glanced just really quick down, and you had a sweater wrapped around your butt.
I didn't have it wrapped. It was a long sweater, so it was covering my butt. But
oh, I thought you had something wrapped in. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, you passed the surf butt test.
Thanks.
Yeah. Speaking of tests, lots of tests happening for us here in Costa Rica. Probably different for you than me. The biggest test for me so far has been humidity. But maybe you not so much because you're you're East Coast. You're used to humidity. You lived in Florida. All I know is Cali. All I know is dry, 80-degree heat.
What's my test?
What has been some of your tests here personally 2 weeks into living in Costa Rica?
I mean, for me, it's been humbling to live in a country that I don't speak the language.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean,
so I speak a little Spanish. I took it in high school. Vanessa doesn't.
Yeah, I took German in high school. Not helpful if you live in Central America.
Life tips, languages not to learn in high school. German, what else?
Unless you plan on living in certain parts of Europe, and then German's great.
French?
But even French. French is considered they call French the Spanish of Europe because French is a language that a lot of people in Europe.
Especially now.
No, not even just now. Just in general, in Europe, French is underneath English. It's the second most spoken language.
Right. I mean, especially now, I think French is actually smart to learn because so many people our age are now
moving to Europe and
moving to different places.
Spanish is the second most spoken language in North and South America. I believe French is the second most spoken language in Europe. And Africa too, I believe. Yeah. I could be wrong on that, but I swear I had somebody in college tell me that. But anyway, I did not take Spanish, and now I'm living in Central America, and I know some words. I mean, I lived in New York and LA for 20 something years. So,
right.
And I bartended for many years. So working in restaurants and, I can get by. I know how to say bathroom and good morning and thank you and certain numbers and things like that. But, it's humbling, and it's humbling for me because, you know this about me. I am not one of the Americans that just like walks into a place and expects the people to speak my language and act how I think they should act or be how I think they should be. Right.
You overextend. You're so sensitive to that it really impacts you.
It really impacts me. So that's been really hard for me because I feel like I'm really trying. I am, but it's like it's not happening fast enough, which is frustrating for me too, because I'm a fast learner. So when things don't come quickly for me, I get really annoyed with myself. I mean, I'll be like that with surfing too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just at a coffee shop. We have a coffee shop right next door. Literally throw a quarter and hit it. Not a quarter, a cologne. What's a coin cologne is?
Well, colognes is their.
Is there a different for coins as opposed to?
I'm sure it's just, you just call it whatever the Spanish word for coin is.
What is one
cologne
cologne? Is cologne? If you could throw one
cologne,
you could throw one cologne and hit a coffee shop where we live. And two American dudes came in. I'm sure they were, here surfing, visiting, and they were loud. And I think they were kind of flirting with the owner. And then one of the guys went behind the counter and was just being, I mean, he wasn't aggressive or anything. He was trying to be funny, but it was
obnoxious.
Well, he was crossing boundaries because without permission, he went and he was looking at the menu and he was saying he couldn't see. And he was like, oh, I'm going to make my own shake. And I was just observing this.
Ugh.
And I felt myself get a little activated. Like,
this is why we get a bad rap.
But here's what's funny. Now, if that same scene happened in LA, it would have been, no one would have been offended. It would have just been fun and people being outgoing, assuming that the barista was open to
that's
it.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sure.
And I could tell the coffee shop owner, who's also American, by the way, she was open there. She was being kind, but I don't know if it was authentic. I think she was just being super nice because they're customers. And it's a small coffee shop. But it's interesting.
This is going to be the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, I think for you, that's going to be hard, is being American in a different country and then being sensitive to
just feeling culture. Like a colonizer, right? Like, I think I've always been super sensitive to that. And I've been like hyper aware of being respectful and humble and taking in cultures instead of like trying to put my culture on other people. And I think that I know for a fact that's going to be the hardest thing for me cumulatively this year is just working with that, that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as sensitive. I mean, I think I used to be the guy that would go behind the coffee counter and be a clown and,
Do you think that partly it's because you're not white? Like, do you think you have less of that?
Maybe, yes.
Because you're not white?
Yeah, I think if I was white, I would be more sensitive to it. But because I've always been an outsider looking in,
that's what I was thinking.
I think I feel like I'm more of a local than quote unquote an American.
But you are American, right?
Yeah, 100% I'm American. Yeah. What else? I think for me, that isn't as activating for me. I'm more sensitive to it now because you are, and I think I'm older now, so I'm trying to be more. There are things that I'm more respectful of now, and I see that I didn't when I was obviously in my 20s. But what else? What else do you think is going to be difficult for you, or?
Well, like yesterday afternoon and evening, we went to go see a movie. That was quite the adventure.
Yeah, it took an hour
hour and 20 minutes almost to get to the closest movie theater that we have.
Yeah, and we're not talking freeways. We're talking dirt roads, up hills, down hills.
Potholes, through rivers.
Yeah, we're talking a very nauseous ride.
And to the theater. For Logan, scary, right? Because she hasn't gotten used to these kind of roads yet. But I think those things, as I get older, I've become more of a homebody. I didn't used to be. And I'm okay for the most part without being able to like run around and do a ton of different things. But I think that over time will be hard for me, that I can't just like hop in the car and go to the movies. I can't just, hop in the car.
But at the same time, you can hop in a golf cart and go to a bakery,
beach.
Coffee shop, beach.
Oh, sure.
Market.
But it's going to be those kind of things. I imagine for me long-term will be harder.
Yeah. There's something about where we landed, the double-edged sword, meaning quaint surf town. I describe it as kind of Malibu in the 60s, very charming, amazing.
Community oriented, kids, families.
But also because of that, the double-edged sword is it's a bubble in the sense that everything's convenient. Everything is, you walk to the beach, you go to the fruit stand, all that stuff on a golf cart. But you're also creating a bubble.
Right.
Meaning if you want to go anywhere far, do anything adventurous, you got to get into a car and it requires,
planning
and windy roads and stuff like that. So it kind of forces you to stay in your little bubble, and you're someone who doesn't like being in bubbles.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I can be a homebody and I'm fine with that. What I don't like is what I feel is like the lack of community, right? Like that's been the hardest thing for me to leave is community.
Yeah.
I think that was my hardest thing when I left New York. It was my hardest thing when I now left LA. LA, it feels harder leaving LA in that realm than it did when I left New York. And I think because I was done with New York when I left New York, I made that decision on my own.
You
LA
weren't
felt
done with
like
LA.
it. Yeah, LA felt like it made that decision for us.
You were just leaning into LA.
I was actually, for the first time in 10 years, I finally started feeling like I actually had community. It took a really long time in LA for me to feel like I had community because by nature of LA, it's a bit of an isolated place. And so I was just getting my groove. I felt like I really loved where we lived. I loved Altadena. There was so much about it I loved. And it felt like it made the decision for us. And I think that was the hardest part for me.
You broke up with New York. LA broke up with you.
Yeah.
In a way, it was blindsided.
Yeah.
It's like being in a relationship where like, okay, I could see this. I could see a future here. I'm going to now really show myself and go in 100%.
And then they were like, never mind.
Never mind.
I'm not into this.
Yeah. I could see that.
How did you feel leaving? You felt like you were ready. You've been there your whole life.
I've been there my whole life.
For the most
yeah.
part.
And so when our house burned down, of course there was first shock, panic, and survival mode. But there was also this realization that I'm not in love with LA anymore. So for me, LA was not being blindsided or that me wanting to pursue the relationship and the person didn't. It was almost like what I call the flat soda breakup, where me and Los Angeles were like roommates. We weren't having sex anymore. We were just kind of buddies. And so I feel like the chemistry changed, but because that's all I know, so comfortable, I just didn't realize it until our house burned down. And I realized, do I even want to be here? And also, LA has changed so much. It's not what it used to be. And I think also, same with New York, going back to New York as a 41-year-old, you're going to experience New York very different than when you're 25. And I think the excitement of New York will either be different or faded if you go back now as a 41-year-old,
to live.
So Los Angeles to me was exciting when I was in my early 30s, going to film school, pursuing screenwriting. My early marriage, she was an actress. So there was something really romantic, poetic about two starving artists in LA trying to make it with big dreams, right? That was very sexy. And then from there was this whole intro into the Hollywood club scene, early 90s. So it was all fun and new. And all of that has faded. And now, now that we have a family, none of that to me that feels like tinsel. It feels like plastic because I'm 52 and that's no longer interesting to me. So because that's what LA has always represented, I feel like it's not honest to me anymore.
We're watching this show right now. We started watching that show 4 seasons with Steve Carell and
Amy. No,
I almost called her Amy Poehler too.
Oh God, we can't do this because now we're gonna waste airtime trying to think. But I can't go further until I can't go further.
Steve Carell,
Tina Fey.
Jeez, that was bad. And it's funny, right? Because we are. I mean, I am not quite, but I'm a little bit younger than their characters. They're more your age. They're in their early 50s.
Oh, come on. They're in their 40s and 50s.
No, they're in their early 50s. He's 50 something. They say it.
Well, I think he's the oldest because he hired one of the guys.
Okay, maybe. They're still a little older than me.
It's the afternoon of your life. It's 40s and 50s.
So 40s and 50s. And then, one of them gets a divorce and ends up with this young 31-year-old or whatever. Yeah. And we were just laughing last night watching it because you said your sister would not understand these jokes. Like this would not resonate with her, right? But we're laughing because it's us. It's like our generation.
Well, right? just as a snapshot, they're about to go out to a bar, and one of them says, "I can't because I already brushed my teeth." Right. So that's an example. That's the example of Gen Z is not going to understand that. They're going to think it's stupid or it's a dad joke. But we understand that because we can relate.
I get it.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is reminding me of that show, right? Which is, I think, even with this change and this move, and it's all happening at the same time. It's happening in a certain season of our life, you know? And I also think, I don't know if this is bird walking, aka you or not, but I right now more than ever am enjoying what I'm doing work wise. Like I'm actually really excited about projects that I'm working on.
Well, you have something very exciting and big coming out. That's a new experience for you.
I have two things really
you have
right
two
now,
things,
right?
So that's very different than me, where I feel the complete opposite.
And I thought about that with us moving here. I said that to you actually before we moved. I said it's going to be really interesting, at least the first few months when we move, because I'm in the middle of PR for a book. I just launched an academy, and you're in the in between, right? So you and I are on almost like different work schedules right now. Your book's already out, and now you're kind of in the lull after that, and I'm ramping up.
Yeah.
And I said, this is going to be interesting because I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be on podcasts. I'm like excited about what I'm doing, and you're in the in between. And I wonder how that's going to impact how we're able to relate to each other in this experience of settling, of transition.
Yeah. And I wonder if this is this area, Costa Rica, is a good platform for you during this time, or it's not. So even though you're a published author, this is your first book, solo written, which is super exciting. And what happened?
Disconnected.
It's recording already.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I wonder if it's playing started where it left off.
Probably.
So in real time, what happened maybe is the answer to my question, which was, with these big projects that you're launching, how do you feel about being here as the internet went down during a podcast that you're on, which is mine?
Makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Right. It makes me a little like I'm torn because there's a part of me that's in the season of my life where I'm ready for this and I want to slow down, and I'm looking forward to surfing in the mornings and setting up my work schedule maybe so I can work Monday through Thursday and have Fridays off and do these things that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I'm simultaneously excited.
Afternoon delights in a different house while the babysitter's in the other house.
Yeah. But I just wonder if it's going to be, I'm curious if it's going to be hard for us because you are going to be in a place of desiring more afternoon delights, which is kind of always the place you're in. And I am going to be in the place of wanting to spend more time working because I'm really passionate and enjoying what I'm doing. Right. And so I'm trying not to think too far ahead, but I'm imagining that could potentially cause some disruption with us,
Well, if I change the locks, you have two other places to go. There are many locks here because we rented like a little compound villa. No, I understand this time that you're in, and I want to be supportive. So yeah, I think it's important that we both know where we're at and what it means to us, right? Which I think is the thematic in anyone's relationship, whatever you're going through. This is a great example of a couple where two people are experiencing different things in their life and are also possibly needing different things in their life, right? So just to be aware of that, to share what you need, to express that, what's important to you, what's not, is important right now. Instead of assuming, and then if someone doesn't meet you, then you feel rejected, or that they don't see you, or that they don't care. All of those, the jumping to conclusions. But yeah, we are in different times as far as career wise. You have a book coming out officially for pre-order now.
Yeah, it's on pre-order right
Yeah,
now.
it's called The Motherhood Myth, and it's Vanessa's very personal / anthem about motherhood, and pulling the curtain back to talk about motherhood in a honest way, without us looking at motherhood through programming and the lenses that we were sold. And also, not just for women, but I think every man should read this book, because then it gives you a better understanding of your wife or girlfriend or partner, if she is mom. So you have that very personal book that is now for pre-order, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Motherhood Myth, you could find wide and your website, vanessabennett.com.
I love your you slide that right in there. I like this. You're so good at that.
Oh, I was gonna make a dirty joke, but never mind. I'm too old for that shit. Okay.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
One of those.
Or the sliding right in there.
Yeah.
And your dream of having a coaching academy, a school, through the angle of depth psychology, which is your training, training coaches and other catalysts through depth psychology. That has finally happened. So you just finished the beta, and now you're moving and launching that. So launching two very big, passionate things, these are very kind of like dream come true moments in your life. And then on my side, crickets, nothing. I shouldn't say nothing. But yeah, the in between books. Also, I'm a little bit kind of discouraged. There were some projects that were supposed to happen that didn't. But I find that after our house burned down, I'm not as attached to things anymore, like career stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting more time and energy into what I do, which is this, documenting my story, right? And so, yeah, I have more time for surfing or afternoon delights, or all these other things, what I call finding nectar in life. And so this is a great place to do that.
I think maybe too, like you in the second half of life, right? Like what Jung would say, your lunar phase, your more feminine phase of life. We've jokingly talked a lot about you. We were even saying it at surfing today with the instructor, right? Like CrossFit, and you're an Aries, and you have a lot of fuego, a lot of fire. Right?
Yeah.
And surfing requires tranquilo. It requires patience. It requires slowing down. It requires, right? So it's going to be interesting for you to lean into more. You've already been, but like lean more into that energy in this part of your life, right? And then for me, with the career stuff we're talking about, like I actually have to ratchet up a little bit.
Yeah, you have to start your fire.
Which, listen, I have a lot of fire. Like I can tap into it, but I have a lot of Scorpio energy in me. I have no problem. I have a lot of Scorpio energy, and I'm a New Yorker. I have no problem tapping into fire, but we're just, again, talking about like us being in different energies right now,
Which I think is, and maybe this is a topic that's emerging for this episode, and a reminder to anyone in a partnership that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Different. I mean, speaking of motherhood, when you were pregnant and then postpartum, you had obviously different energy than me, right? One of the topics you talk about in your book is being touched out, and then me craving sex, intimacy, connection, and you not wanting. By the way, motherhood myth. She's being a mom to me right now. Hey,
you got sand in your eye.
No, but can I just say that
this isn't being a mom?
No, no. So you're poking. This, what you're doing now, to me,
I'm a
feels
monkey.
good.
This is like our primal instinct is to pick and to clean.
She also throws shit at me sometimes.
Ew.
That's what monkeys do. It
took me a second to know what you were saying.
So, you fixing my collar, or
wiping the sand
out of my eyes, actually feels good. I like that. I feel loved by you. It doesn't feel motherly or controlling, or so this motherly side, actually, I love.
Well, this side's been here all along. This side's always been here since before being an actual mom.
The backseat driving, I don't know. That's not so much.
Yeah, it's been there. It's never going away.
But this is a different type of different type of mother. Anyway, most couples will experience this shifts, and they're in their different parts of their journeys, and then because of that, if you don't communicate it, the people feeling disconnected or ignored or unseen,
Taking it personal.
Yes, and one of the things that we've heard about Costa Rica, it's also a place where couples come and they don't make it. It
Yeah.
actually can be a crowbar, and I see that because I think that this can, like COVID, put a black light to your relationship.
I was just going to say, is it a crowbar or is it a mirror, right? So
Well,
similar to COVID.
they're both. A mirror can be a crowbar. So
Yeah.
it could be a mirror, and because of the mirror, it turns into a crowbar,
Yeah.
meaning, yeah.
I think that anytime you're forced to slow down, anytime your distractions are taken away, the things that you hide behind are taken away, and you're forced to look at yourself, and you're forced to look at your partner, and you're forced to look at your partnership, cracks are going to show, and it's either going to make your partnership stronger or it's going to do the opposite, right? I think that for us, one of the things that I've appreciated about you and us is that coming out of the fire, we were around obviously other people and other families who have been through the same thing as us, and watching them struggle to connect, watching them struggle to be on the same page, watching them struggle to find each other through everything. And one of the things that I've said since day one is that I felt like you and I, we did really well together under pressure, like under this horrible situation. I felt like we actually worked well together, which we always know, have always known that we do.
Well, our strength as a couple is we're very good.
We're working together,
building things, working together. When the shit hits the fan, that kind of stuff. That part of our relationship is very aligned. That dance is very natural. I think it's also kind of the glue that can hold us together sometimes. Yeah. So to be continued. There's a logical side of me that when you start adding up numbers as far as the cost of living and what it takes to rebuild a house in Los Angeles versus what it takes to rebuild a house here, logic kicks in, and it's a no-brainer where we could almost live here and not have a mortgage, but live in LA and have a huge mortgage that we may not even be able to afford because of SBA loans. But I don't think that logic is where you pull from, because that may, so it's too early to know. But it's like, you got to consider all things, and there's pros and cons to wherever you live.
I'm excited for you to slow down, continue to slow down and become more embodied, so that when we do make our decision, I feel like for both of us, it's coming from an embodied place and not a place, not a logical place.
Yeah. Anyway, you could continue to follow our story as I document it almost daily. I enjoy it. I actually feel like the creative need that I have, if fulfilled, always makes me feel alive. And so, it doesn't matter if it was Legos when I was 12 or Tumblr post-divorce or now social media and podcasting and books. But I will continue to document this and pull Vanessa into podcasts and lives and various stories. So if you're interested in how things unfold as we try to build a life here, I will be sharing revelations, and pick up Vanessa's book. Vanessa is also trying to promote the smaller bookshops.
Yeah, bookshop.org. I mean, you can get it on Amazon as well, but bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And join the waitlist for the Academy if you're interested in being trained in depth psychology.
If you're interested in coaching other people, Vanessa has created a whole entire ecosystem. So you can find out more at vanessabennett.com. Thank you for listening. Be well.